to take the oath of citizenship and receive their citizenship certificates. Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Suppose if we ask you to turn off your cell phone, but there's no turn mine on. Well, again, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Bon après-midi, mesdames et messieurs. J'ai le grand plaisir de vous souhaiter à tous la bienvenue à cette cérémonie de la citoyenneté canadienne. I'm so pleased to welcome all of you to this very special ceremony of Canadian citizenship, especially those of you who will shortly become new Canadian citizens. Canadian citizenship has only been in existence since 1947, but the spirit that gives Canadians their true identity has lived since the early days of Confederation. People of different races, different cultures, different languages joined together in 1867 to start building the country of Canada. As I look around this room today, I see many more people of different races, cultures, languages, ready and waiting to add their own talents and their own abilities to our great Canadian family. Now, Canada is truly a land of immigrants. Some have arrived recently, others have been here for a number of years, and still others have ancestors who came to this country hundreds of years ago. My ancestors are examples of early French European settlers who arrived here from France in the year 1658. That was on my dad's side. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother was a Micmac native from Nova Scotia. That officially gives me my Aboriginal status here as a Métis, and it's a status that I'm extremely proud to have. So, for those of you who've never seen a Métis before, have a good luck. Unlike our Aboriginal people, who can claim a far longer historical attachment to Canada, most Canadian families are relative newcomers, having arrived here in the last few hundred years. So it isn't surprising then that Canada is a nation that values its diversity. Our tradition of celebrating and accepting multiculturalism is a characteristic that separates Canada from most countries in the world. We're extremely proud of this, as we are all equals under the law. At this point in time, I would like to make some introductions. The clerk of today's court, Mr. Andrew Zografis, please join me in welcoming him. Our CIC officials for today, Adam and I believe Olga is back there. Sure. So all have worked hard to sort out the paperwork, so please. Well, from the smiles on your faces, I know that you realize that today, February 28th, 2011, will mark a very important milestone in your life. Now, how many of you remember where you were February 28th, 2 years ago or 5 years ago? Anyone remember? You were in here? Okay. Anyone else remember where they were? 5 years ago? No, no one. Okay. Let me guarantee you, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you will remember where you were on February 28, 2011. Okay? Because it is indeed a milestone. And it's a very important gift that you're going to get today, the gift of Canadian citizenship. Je suis heureux et fier de partager cette journée avec vous. Je sais que la plupart d'entre vous ont attendu ce jour avec impatience et ce sont des raisons nombreuses et diverses qui vous ont attiré, chacun d'entre vous, vers ce pays qui vous ont conduit à cette cérémonie aujourd'hui. Pour la plupart, vous êtes venus chercher une vie meilleure. Probably all of you have worked very hard to earn your citizenship. You've had to learn about Canadian history, geography, and our political system. For many of you, you've had to learn a new language, something that is not easy. I happen to know exactly how hard it is because English was not my first language. And certainly when I came to Toronto in 1968 for the very first time, I could barely speak English. I felt like a stranger in the province that I was born in. And so I can imagine how hard it's been. But you know what? All of you have succeeded. You've passed the test. Now, is your English perfect? Probably not. Mine isn't. Okay? But you know what? You continue to practice, and you practice, and you practice, and with practice it will get better. Okay? And I know we have a lot of young people in this room today who probably speak English better than mom and dad. I see that all the time because for young people, it's very easy for them to learn another language, okay? So let me encourage you, okay? Speak English with mom and dad at home to help them a little bit, okay? And on the other hand, I want mom and dad to continue teaching you your language of origin, whether it's Urdu or Cantonese or Mandarin or Greek or Italian. It's important that you continue learning your language of origin, okay? Sometimes it's not easy. You know, people are going to tease you, okay? But you know what? You have to be strong because you're the smarter one because you know maybe 2 or 3 languages. And I can tell you, in this country, okay, in this country, if you have and you're able to speak more than 1 language, you're going to get the better jobs, okay, when you grow up and you get a job, okay? And so, on the other hand, if you start learning French at this point in your life, by the time you're 14, 15 years old, you'll be able to speak both of Canada's official languages. And certainly to get jobs with the federal government, it helps. You go to the top of the list, you know, if you're able to speak French and English, and certainly other languages, okay? For mom and dad, you need to take this advice very, very seriously, okay? If you want to be able to speak to your grandchildren in your language of origin, you better make sure your children know it, because it only takes 1 generation to lose a language, and it's sometimes lost forever, okay? And languages aren't learned overnight. You know, you can't cram. How many of you crammed for your English test 2 weeks before the test? Nobody. Oh, come on. Maybe you crammed for knowledge. I'll buy that one, okay? But nobody crammed for English, okay? Because it takes time, okay? It takes time. And so, let me encourage you. You know, you have the opportunities, the resources. You can learn both of Canada's official languages. And for our young people whose brains are still developing, okay, it's easy to learn 2 or 3 or 4 languages at a time, okay? So let me encourage you to do that. I think many of you have had difficult journeys coming to Canada. If it was just for language and knowledge, but sometimes it's for jobs, you know, it's not easy. You know, you may be an engineer in your country and you come to Canada and your credentials aren't recognized easily, or it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of patience. And so I know you've not had an easy go of it. But you know what, today, as you get your Canadian citizenship, you start building Canada as Canadian citizens, but not only for yourselves and your families, but perhaps for your fellow countrymen who are going to join us here at some point in the future. But we have a right to be proud as Canadians. We have 2 official languages, diverse and very different cultural communities. All of us living in peace and harmony in this country. And I think all of you will agree with me that we want to continue living in peace and harmony. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we all do our share, that will continue to happen. If we bring in conflict from outside, who knows what can happen to that fragile entity we call peace. So as new Canadian citizens, it's important that you take that responsibility very, very seriously. So before we go on too far this afternoon, I'm going to review with you some of the new rights that you will be given today. So all of you will have the right to vote if you are over the age of 18. If you're not yet 18, you're going to get a present today, but you can't open it until you're 18, okay? So think about it. You know, when you're 18 years old, you young lady in the front there, you'll have this present from the judge, okay? And it'll be your right to vote. Okay? You have nothing else to do, okay? All right. All of you will have the right to obtain a Canadian passport. And everyone knows that the passport office is on the second floor. Don't all rush down there after the ceremony. There might very well be somebody just outside here handing you out the applications. Okay? Make sure you get one for adults, and there's one for children also. Okay? All of you will have the right to work for the federal government in any province or territory of your choice. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms will guarantee you a life here free from discrimination and persecution, freedom to practice your religion, and freedom to express your opinions freely. Okay? So, you accept rights with one hand, what do you accept with the other? Responsibilities. So, who's going to go shopping on voting day? Right? Everyone. But you have to go vote first, okay? You have to vote. Okay? Unless you put the ballot in the ballot box, the politicians don't hear your voice. And it's important. It doesn't matter. You can complain all year. Or you can complain for 4 years. It won't matter. But it matters on voting day. Okay? And if you like what the government is doing, you vote to keep them. And if you don't, then you vote to change. And if you vote for change, there will be change. Okay? And that's how it works in this country. Okay? It's the majority of citizens who elect the governments at the federal, provincial, and municipal levels. Okay? All of you have a responsibility to build caring and safe communities, to get along with one another, to be friendly neighbors, to help out in the community. All of you have a right and a responsibility to look after our environment so that our children and grandchildren have a beautiful Canada to inherit. Now, you also have a big responsibility, and that is to give back to Canada. Everyone knows the tax office is on the 4th floor. Okay? I don't want to talk about taxes, okay? Even though it's tax time, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about giving back as a volunteer. Everyone can do that, right? Is everyone doing it now? No. Okay? But let me encourage you, okay, that you give back a little bit of your time in your community. Help out in our hospitals, our nursing homes, our schools, our community centers. If your kids are playing soccer or cricket, volunteer to coach. Help out on the team. You know, bring the refreshments. Do something to help Canada be just a little bit better. And if everyone does this, Canada will continue to be one of the best countries in the world. Okay? Being a Canadian citizen is more than taking. Okay? It's giving also. Okay? And it's important that all of you understand that. Okay? Now, is everyone ready to become a Canadian citizen?
Yes.
Anyone not ready? Okay, I never see hands raised when I ask that. We're going to ask the clerk to prepare you for your oath of citizenship.
Would everybody in the ceremony room please rise?
How are you? Stand right here.
একটা ফ্যামিলি পিকচার দিতে পারো ফ্যামিলি পিকচার থ্যাংক ইউ
এই যে দেখো তুলো না ওকে ভিডিও ছবি কোথায়
ওই যে তুলছে এখানে তুলে ফেলে ছবি
দেখো
ইয়া ওকে দ্যাটস ইট
যা
ওকে